Greebay fam. Back. Back. Back.
Yo, welcome to another episode of 4133, the podcast. This is the divisional round, y'all. I mean, we made it. What's up, Nick? We back again. I mean, hey, look, so far we've held half of the deal. So
Yeah, it's getting the first win in the playoffs is huge, especially for a team that had a big mark on its back. You know, you never want to get bounced in the first round, and then they came out and won by double-digit points. So, and it was Jalen's first game back from not playing in a while. Got that Russ game out of the way, so we're ready to roll.
yeah, man, it seemed interesting. Obviously watching all 22, I seen some interesting things looking back. Uh, felt like the offense kept it a little simple, stupid. We kind of just didn't because I didn't. It was a stretch in there, and I know you've seen it. I ain't gonna even ask if you've seen it. Usually, I ask people if they've seen it. I know you've seen it, but we should have went maybe 0 for 10.
What do you mean?
We went. Oh, so we started out 6 for 6 passing. Then we went 0 for 7. It was really like maybe 2 or 3 plays in there where Jalen Hurts was able to pull some things off. But we probably shouldn't have even probably went 6 for 6. It probably should have been more like 4 for 6. We probably should have went 0 for 10 stretch. From what I've seen, the play calling just seemed a little vanilla, seemed a little uncreative. Seemed like we almost went back to before the bye week. I don't know how you feel.
I mean, there was a number of factors that went on. Like there was a play early in the game in the red zone where we scored a touchdown on a wheel route to Saquon against the Jaguars. It was the exact same concept against the coverage you wanted. You got a linebacker one on one, didn't take the throw right. You had some plays in there that I liked. There were some that were just play wasn't executed well, where you had to slant to AJ Brown. Mekhi Becton gets knocked into the backfield, probably screws up Jalen being able to throw an accurate pass on plays like that. But yeah, I don't think it was something where they were asking him to come out and push the ball down the field a whole lot. It did seem like they were playing a little bit conservatively. I also think that part of it was they were expecting the Packers to come out and run. I would say probably more cover 2 than what they ran. It seemed like they were running a lot more quarters, a lot more cover 6. They were shading to AJ early in the game where they were rotating coverage to him. They had a deep safety over top. They were playing with the squat corner underneath on a good amount of the plays. Interestingly enough, as well, early in that game, AJ gets a curl route, slips on the play, but still makes a catch. When you look at that play, he was on the short side of the field, right? So he was on the side. The ball was on the left hash. AJ was a left receiver. After that, whenever they were running some of these concepts, it was Devontae Smith that was on the short side of the field. And so I feel like there might have been something to it where they were trying to AJ turned into more of a decoy in that game, especially when you look at some of the other concepts they ran later in the game. There was one where it was a cover 2 beater that they've run all season long, where Devontae would be the guy running the clear out route in the slot, and then they moved AJ to run that, and they had Devontae run the dig that's supposed to hit that hole, take advantage of that void in cover 2, right? So just little things like that where it seemed like they're trying to figure out how to manage and navigate through this game with AJ being banged up a little bit. Jalen hadn't played in quite some time, and then just trying to take care of the ball and not turn it over because the defense was playing lights out for the most part. But I expect them to be a little bit more aggressive this week. But I mean, you got the weather now in this game. Who knows what's going to happen? How much they are going to actually try and push the ball down the field more.
It was a play, and I can't remember exactly when it happened, but AJ almost didn't even run a route. It was almost like, and Jalen ends up scrambling to his side. He tried to turn into a route, but it looked like he almost ran like a ghost fade route. Like he just ran to the sideline, got the cornerback to commit out the way, and then he was just kind of like. And when he looked back and seen Jalen, he tried to turn it into like maybe a fly route or whatever. Jalen ended up throwing it out of bounds, but kind of looking at that play, I kind of agree with what you said. Like, it felt like they were just like, hey, look, AJ, we're going to take it easy, get you back to 100% healthy. Obviously, if we get through this game next week, we can get back to what we do. I don't think they foreseen the snow, but I think ultimately how we play offense, we can still be versatile in the snow.
Yeah, and when you look at this Rams defense, you don't have to push the ball down the field on them. Number one, I don't think they're going to sit there and try and let the Eagles throw it over their heads. They hardly pressed AJ in their first matchup. Devontae didn't play, so keep that in mind. They hardly pressed up on AJ. They're allowing underneath throws, and AJ made him pay. He had 6 missed tackles forced in that game. That was the most that he had all season. When you look at the Rams defense, in terms of some of their metrics, they're 31st and yards after catch per reception, right? So that showed up with the AJ Brown breaking tackles. They're 26th in missed tackles per reception, right? So you don't have to throw it deep to get explosives on this team. And this team is 29th in explosive passes allowed, which are 20 plus yard passes. The Rams are, right? So you don't have to necessarily throw it deep over top of them. They will let you do that at times as well, as if you can get the right play against the right coverage. But we'll see how this game plays out. Saquon also had a screenplay that he took for like 30 yards underneath. I'd like to see more of that kind of stuff. Maybe mix in a tight end screen to Dallas Goedert, and not like the bubble screen we saw last week, but more like the traditional tight end screens we've seen from Dallas Goedert in the past. I think that they have the team that can really play well in the snow, especially with the rushing attack that they have, the offensive line that they have. And when you look at what happens in snow games, as long as the snow isn't terrible, sometimes it actually does benefit the offense because the pass rush can't get the footing that they need. DBs can't break as quickly as they need to. And when the receivers know what route they're running, it's a little bit easier for them to maintain their footing. But like just for instance, the Patriots, I think it's 2008 or 2009, they blew out the Titans 59-0 in a snow game. As long as the snow isn't like that Detroit snow game that we saw with LaShawn McCoy in 2013, you
What
can
was
move
about,
the
that was
ball.
like 7 inches of snow though, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's a ton of snow. So it's different when that happens, right? And you'll hear professional gamblers talking about snovers. So when it snows, but it's not a super heavy snow and there's not a ton of it on the field, a lot of times what ends up happening is people start betting the under because they think it's going to be a low scoring game. It lowers the lines and it gives people value. So I'll be interested to see how much snow actually hits and sticks on the ground. I read stuff about how the Eagles stadium, they do a good job heating up the field and keeping it warm. So we'll see how this game plays out. But either way, I think the Eagles have the better roster top to bottom. They should come out with the victory.
Is there any benefit of us pretty much practicing in that condition most of the week?
Absolutely, especially when the other team has, excuse me, especially when the other team hasn't, right? It takes a little bit to get acclimated to it. And especially with the cold, that tends to affect the passing game a little bit more than necessarily just snow on its own, right? And you look
Right.
at the Rams, they don't really play in cold climates a lot. I don't think Stafford's played in a game below like 50 degrees or something like that since he's been with the Rams, so this will be the coldest game that he's played in. You look at his record outdoors, it's not that great. And you look at certain teams, like even the teams with Aaron Rodgers, when it would be freezing in Green Bay, there was times when their offense just disappeared, up at Lambeau. But the Eagles' offense is built to be a physical, ground and pound type team. You add Jalen Hurts to the mix where he can create with his legs in the run game as well. So I think a lot of things help with the Eagles, but also being able to practice in that climate when the other team can't, of course, is going to be, a bit of a boost.
I'm a little sad though, man. My guy, man, he got to sit it down for the rest of the season. That kind of hurt. That's the biggest. I don't know. That's like the biggest hole for me going into this game because he wrecked their game. The last time we played, he was really holding Kyron Williams in contain, and I don't know if Oren Burke and Jeremiah Trotter, whoever plays, is going to fill them shoes probably.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think either one are going to be able to. I mean, if you're asking Jeremiah Trotter to have his second start ever and produce at the level that Nakobe Dean was producing at, I think that's a lot to ask of the guy and expect him to play at that level. Warren Burke's a career backup. There's a reason why, so I'm not expecting him to all of a sudden just turn the page. The good thing is you have a good infrastructure, though. So it's not like you're asking these guys to come in and be the main focus of the defense. You have a good front, you have a good secondary, all that stuff when it's mixed in, the communication, they can still play well. And when Oren Burks came in last week, there were some plays that he did not do well on, right? But he made some plays as well, and the defense only gave up 10 points when he was in the game. So it's not as like it's not to assume that that they're just going to get run over because one of these guys are in the game. But it does suck for Nakobe, especially the long-term prospects of his career. Now, you look at this type of injury, it used to be a career ender. For a lot of guys, though, they say they never get back to the athleticism that they were ever at before. And it's not like Nakobe was an elite athlete at the position to begin with, so it makes it even harder. Now, linebacker is one of those positions where your toughness, your football IQ, it can overcome a lack of athleticism. And he definitely has that in spades. But it is something that sucks for the long-term prospect of the team. But the biggest thing is you would see this guy pointing out, like, when a team's about to motion, like 3 seconds before they motion. He'd be pointing out to different people. Zach Bond talked about how he would get him lined up. I do think that the team, there will be a bit of a drop-off with him not out there on the field.
This is gonna really hurt, man. I got a lot of like faith in what Nakobe Dean do. What you just said, before I heard Zach Bond say it, I pointed it out many times, like how he orchestrates the defense, like how I've seen him walk up to the line like before, and then look, if you naked eye, not knowing what you're seeing, you think he's walking up to initiate blitz. He'll walk up and he'll tap Nolan like to get Nolan to slide half an inch to the left, or Jalen Carter to slide in just a little bit. So that gap that he's about to go down, or that gap that Zach Bond's about to go down, is free. You're not right there. And I think that's gonna be big, man. I think that's a key thing, because he's not worried about what the DBs got going on, but that front seven, him and the guys that got their hand in the dirt, he's a big part of making sure that always looks good, man. And I listen. Obviously what you said is one piece. That one piece can weaken 1,000 pieces. All it takes is him to get exposed and overextend, or and one of those to the crib, like the Josh Jacobs missed tackle or the Jalen Reed missed tackle. Like, I don't know. I think I'm ready to go on. I think Oren Burke deserves to start because of his veteranship, and he's been in some big games, some big moments. But if I was them, I would try to do like. Do you remember the first time Nakobe went down? How they did the joint? Like they had Trotter come in and do a couple blitzing plays and stay back, and then they flopped them out. I think they should do something like that on a rotation.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens. Ideally, you'd want to keep the same guys in there because you get a feel for what's going on throughout the game. Something you might see in the first quarter could come back in the fourth quarter, where you recognize the formation or a check that you heard. One of maybe the O line made a check to say we're going to be comboing up to this back or whatever it may be. So ideally you'd like to have the same group, but it might be a thing where it's like you got to figure out who is going to be the guy that steps up there, and you do try and rotate, especially early in the game, to see. But
it would be nice if he's on the sideline, though. Will he be able to be? He won't be able to be on the sideline, will he?
Who?
Nakobe. That injury won't allow him to be on the sideline, will it?
I'm sure he could be on the sideline. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he'll probably end up being in the booth, but I don't know. He might be on the side. You see BG on the sideline still.
I think he could be key. Just some of the things he can help, like just point out to what they mess. Just seeing it from the side a little bit, seeing it on the tablet. He probably could be a big vital piece as far as helping those guys.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just a bummer for Nakobe. He's having such a great year, especially coming back and silencing a lot of doubters. And many areas of his game. He was good in the past game when we were coming into the season. Go back and look through Twitter, and what everyone was saying in the offseason. And I myself included, that was one of the weaknesses of his game. And it's like he just stepped up and took it to the next level. So hopefully he can bounce back. But it's no doubt going to be a big loss for them, especially with the Rams team. They motion a ton. They motion before they motion. They motion multiple times in a play, so multiple motions per play at the highest rate in the NFL. They use a lot of misdirection, a lot of play action that looks the exact same as their run plays, right? So it takes a lot of communication. It takes a lot of play recognition, formation recognition, all that little stuff that goes into it. I am interested to see, do they play more dime on longer down and distances than they were, just to get, a coverage guy out there as opposed to having a young guy like Trotter or a guy like Burks who isn't the greatest in coverage out there on like third and long, or even third and medium, maybe even second and long. They run more dime. Probably not on second and long. That hasn't really been Fangio's MO, but I imagine they'll probably get a little bit creative. One thing, one last thing.
I see some people say they want to come in with big nickel. How you feel about that? And play Sidney as the third safety. It's more of a box though, in the box last time.
It depends on if he's been doing it in practice, because it's not like he's been out there playing in the games. You know what I'm saying? Right. And he hasn't even been the first safety off the bench. Sometimes not even the second safety. Sometimes it looks like at times he's been the fifth safety in the rotation. So I'd like to say yeah, but if he hasn't been doing it all year, I imagine they're going to stick with what's gotten them here, and it's what they've been practicing with all year.
He said this. Well, he did say with some things he had in the clutch. I just want to see what it is. I've just been thinking about Fangio and what he could have prepared for a team coming up.
And he might, he might throw some curveballs out there. I'm interested to see what happens with. One thing to think about with the linebackers is Fangio loves to rotate Zach Bond down to the line of scrimmage and set the edge, right? And that's something that they did with Oren Burks when they played the Giants, when it was Trotter and Burks. Burks would fill that Zach Bond role. Would they have a situation where maybe they put Burks rotate to set the edge on the defense, rotate to the defensive line, and then you could have Zach Bond still playing as what Nakobe was doing? I wonder if who they'd rather have when you get to those situations where you have 6 down linemen and 1 backer. Would they rather it be Bond back there or Burks or Trotter? One of those.
I think it's gonna be Bond. You showed me something I didn't even think about. I didn't even really process that they could switch roles and kind of, instead of putting it all on one person to do what Nakobe was doing, put it on the person that's been on the field the most to do it, since he's going to be the green down anyways.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of feel to do that, because there's times where it's like you're responsible for 2 gaps. If the ball goes one way and you're flowing with the run, you need to keep leverage on one side. But if it cuts back, you got to be ready to flow back and find the ball.
Zach Bond is pretty good at that though, right?
Yeah, Bond's good at that. Whereas you look at that big run that Josh Jacobs had against the Packers, if you wrote down the run fits on the board, he was fitting where he was supposed to fit. But it's one of those things you have to feel out as a linebacker. Sometimes the gap that you're supposed to be filling gets clogged, or for the running back, it looks muddy and they're going to hit a cutback. Where I think Nakobe probably realizes that and falls back on the play. Bond just kept trying to fill what was supposed to be his gap, and he doesn't fall back soon enough with the run, and then he's left, trying to make an arm tackle. Bond's really good at sorting through traffic and finding the ball carrier. Maybe they have Burke set the edge, and then Bond's going to be that lone linebacker back there trying to, flow and find the ball.
Yeah, Dean has a sense of just like instinct. He can feel. It's like almost like I'm not saying he has a superpower, but it's almost like the way the lineman is moving with him, he can almost like envision what's gonna happen. Like you said, like before it happens. He's like, it was like a play. I want to say it was Green Bay that Zach Bond got there, but he knew Zach Bond wasn't gonna make the play. And he's following up so fast behind him, like the running back doesn't even get a chance to really realize Dean is coming still. And it's just like, that's the type of stuff I see. Like, he could have just been like, oh, Bond got him and kind of like slowed up. He's like full speed. If he doesn't full speed, dude probably makes a couple cuts and gets 3 or 4 yards. It's just things he does, and it's just like, yeah, he don't got the fastest speed sideline to sideline. He's obviously not gonna go one-on-one with your, somebody fast up, up the field. When he realizes and recognizes his closing speed on screens and underneath passes, it's wild sometimes.
Yeah, and playing a position like linebacker when there's so much traffic and so much stuff going on in front of you and so much motion and pulling linemen and eye candy going on, if you're not confident and you're hesitant, it doesn't matter if you're a faster athlete. The guys that can see it and react quickly are the guys that are going to get there, right? And that's what Nakobe is able to do. When you go back and you look at Trotter and the preseason, he was a step slower than Bond was reacting. Everyone was talking about, looking at all the flash plays that Trotter was making when really it was Bond that was a quicker guy reacting. So now it's 18, 19, 20 weeks later. So hopefully the game slowed down a little bit for him at the NFL level and he can make some of those plays. But it really does come down to playing with confidence, trusting your eyes, trusting your keys and your reads, and going to make plays at that point in time.
Facts. So obviously Quinyon Mitchell first interception, Slade first interception. Do you see like us being able to build on some of those things? I know Quinyon's was more kind of like just happened, but I mean, I heard Slade say it. I haven't been able to see if it's like mathematically correct. But he's like most corners once it happens, like it's like a spree of games of where it happens. So I'm wondering if we could break something out of that. I mean, his play was, I mean, that was technique to the T. Like that pick, I know somebody said, oh, it just fell in his hands. I'm like, no. That arm that scoops in, that gets him like almost like a whip. Like he whipped himself up, so now he's shoulder to shoulder, and now he's in phase with him. That was technique. Because most cornerbacks do the reach, you know what I mean, and then you get the flat. He like swimmed his arm inside the arm. And when he pushed like back with his shoulder almost, it was almost like he was like this and it just went and it just was perfect. I don't know. How did you like, how it played out for him?
Well, I mean, it did fall into his arms, but he put himself in position to make a play, right? It was a little bit luck to get that head around and then boom, it's right there. But also he put himself in that position for that to happen, right? So that's one of those veteran plays. In terms of getting that first interception and then they come after that, I mean, listen, the more you play, the better you're gonna get. I expect Quinyon's ball skills will get better the more he plays. Now that pass was a little gifted to him. Zach Bond could have been called for a flag there, but it wasn't called. So, it wasn't called. But the thing with Quinyon is if passes are in front of him and he can break on like an out route that's in front of him, he has that burst to get his hands on the ball. He just needs to come down with it. Whereas there are times where it seems like he panics a little bit when his back is to the ball, and then he has to turn around and go find it. You saw he gave up a reception like that against the Packers. He also got a PI like that against the Packers at one point in the game as well. So do I think it's all of a sudden he's going to start raining down interceptions, throughout the rest of the playoffs because of that one? I don't know, but he's been close to getting interceptions all throughout the season. So I think it's just more about opportunities. Those things will come with playing time, and interceptions can be really, really fluky. Sometimes the ball gets tipped from one person and lands in your arms. That was a lot of what CJ was getting his first season with the Eagles. But you also have to put yourself in the position for those passes to get tipped to you through your technique and your pursuit and your effort and taking the right angles to the ball and to receivers, right? But these guys have been locked down for much of the year. Now, one thing I do think that the Rams are going to try and do is potentially a double move to the outside, because if you watch both Slay and Mitchell, when they're in off coverage, they'll sit there and try and play for that intermediate throw. They'll try and get to a point where they're trying to break on a dig or a curl route. And that's kind of what happened on the interception that Slay had, Wicks gave him a little stutter and then kept going. Um, Slay had the ability to get back and phase, but I expect the Rams are going to try and take advantage of that with Puka, I would imagine. I think Puka would have done a better job stacking Slay after he got a step on him than what Wicks did. So I would look for a double move, a stutter and go, and out and up, something like that, where they play with the aggressiveness and the risk taking that the Eagles corners play with.
I like Cooper Cup run that out the slot too. That he run a little like then he go up the field, and it almost seems like it hits you every time too. I don't think I've ever seen that play where Coop don't come down with it with like a little amazing catch. I could see him trying this with it though. I could see it. We haven't. I don't know. It seemed like you said, it seemed like sometimes Quinyon panic. Like when they about to it seemed like they finna break it off. He's almost like, no, I don't need to give it up. And then like when they turn it back, he just like it used to seem like he was just moving so smoothly. Like now he's like you said, like in a panic. It's like almost like he's like panicking to turn around to catch up. And it's like if you just stay true to your fundamentals, just like Slay got in phase for that interception, you'll get back in the play. Panicking doesn't do nothing but create bad habits. You know, you're gonna do something crazy. You know, too many steps to get back to where you need to go. If you just like, I've seen corners get beat, and they're just like, all right, I got enough. Boom, spin, get back into it. We running it down because guess what? He has to throw the ball, and if it's short or if it's long, you got a chance to catch up. You got the speed, Quinyon, to get back into it. I mean, panicking don't do anything. It don't help you out.
Yeah,
it really makes you play worse.
Yeah, and it's with young corners too. It's not unexpected, you know.
Right.
You don't want to get beat, but yeah, the guys that can stay calm, tracking the ball, getting back in phase, are the guys that are able to get back in phase. They're not as tight, you know. They're able to play loose. They keep their head on the guy until they get back in phase and they look back for the ball. That'll definitely be something that you'll see for him to work on this offseason is locating the ball, especially when his back is turned initially, and then working on tracking. He needs to spend an offseason with AJ Brown going and catching fly balls in the outfield, because that's how AJ got so good at tracking passes. Is, you know, he was a all-star. He was an all-state center fielder, got drafted by the Padres in the 16th round, I think it was, you know. So there's just a difference when you can spend that much time tracking fly balls versus you only get so many of those in practice in football. You know, it's not comparable. He needs to go spend an offseason with AJ tracking passes down the field.
AJ a pretty good hitter too. I seen some of his tape, like high school. Like, all right, AJ, you all right at the baseball thing. I didn't even know you was that good. He was pretty, and he fast, so he was able to take away a lot of that field where you thought you could get to, but he go get it. Like, he do need to get out there.
He's got to be looking at some of those contracts they're getting in baseball too, and being like, man, I don't know if I made the right choice.
Hey, I seen a play by Quinyon. It was like a couple of weeks ago, and they threw the rock, right? And like you said, he panics when he got to get his head back. So he like running with the receiver. He gets his head back, and like he doesn't see the ball. So like his first thing was just like, like he put his arm on. I'm like, that's not good, bro. Like if you don't find the ball, try to get your head back to where the ball gotta go. Like your best intention now is if you haven't tracked it here coming across, it's either it's going to his hand or not. So now you gotta get back so you can fight for it if you didn't find it here. And he just threw. He didn't throw his head. He just went like this. I'm just like, in a situation like we're going into now, throwing your hand out and hitting that receiver, ticky tack, could be a spot foul. You know, pass interference.
And you know, I truly believe that refs in their mind, in the back of their mind, they give superstar treatment to superstar players because they're just like, well, this is a good player. Of course he drew the penalty. And you look at last time these two teams played, there's a couple ticky-tack fouls on penalties that they called on Eagles defenders trying to guard Puka and then some of the other guys, you know. So you got to be clean when you're playing these guys. You got to be, you know, calm and patient and you know, playing with your eyes, getting in phase before you're looking back for the ball, all that stuff. But what do you think coming into this game? How are you feeling? What do you think's the our biggest strength going into this game?
Uh, Defensively or offensively?
I guess we could start with offense.
Uh, I mean, first and foremost, I got that 2K say in the closet over the sweater, man. With the how about them guys up front? So if you ask me the strength, man, it gotta be the offensive line and the run game right now. It's been the most consistent. I mean, it's been all year long. You've been able to kind of keep teams honest with the run game. We was talking about it before we got on. Obviously that's probably going to be their biggest emphasis going into this game. Um, they don't want to get killed again. You don't want to give up 255 rushing yards again. So I think the offensive line is our biggest strength offensively. If you was asking.
Yeah, and we talked about it before too. What was that stat you said? The teams that guys that ran for 200 on a team.
200 in the regular season. Didn't run for over 100 in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that Jalen had a quote. I'm gonna butcher it, but he's talking about the grass is gonna grow where you water it, right? And I think after the Eagles kind of gave it to the Rams, especially their run D, that they probably had more focus in practice of going through their run fits, going through their techniques needed to be better on the ground. And you look at after that game, for the most part, they've been much better as a run defense now. Still, I think they have some deficiencies that you're just not going to improve with some of the guys that they have on the roster, especially on the back seven. I don't think their linebacker, Christian Roseboom's very good. When you get these guys, when you get the offensive linemen pulling and they have to, adjust their run fit with pulling offensive linemen, pulling tight ends, I don't think they're very good finding their proper fit. There are times when Roseboom will just, his pursuit angles to the ball aren't good. He'll try and undercut a block and then get caught in traffic and give up big runs that way. So I'd expect to see a good amount of gap scheme runs, some counter runs. Expect to see the quarterback counter bash that we've seen from the Eagles a good amount. I expect this could be a game where the Eagles used Jalen and the run game a little bit more than they did last week. They used him a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that upped a notch this game. And then the Rams, they struggle stopping scrambling quarterbacks. They are, let me pull up the numbers that I had written down.
So you can see this being like a Chicago game?
It could be, because it was freezing, that a few years ago, when they played. And that definitely that affects the pass game to a degree for sure when it's really cold. But the Rams give up 9.1 yards per scramble, which is 27th in the NFL. So they gave up 76 yards to Josh Allen on scrambles alone in Week 14, 49 to Kyler Murray in Week 2, 37 to Brock Purdy in Week 3. Jalen only scrambled 3 times on Week 12, had 22 yards. So I think there will be opportunities for these guys to move the sticks on the ground.
What do you think Smitty coming into this game changes about their game plan from the last time from what you watched so far?
Well, number one, they can't sit there and well, if they want to, I shouldn't say they can't, but if they want to sit there and try and run cloud coverage to A.J. Brown where you got a squat corner underneath and then you got a deep safety over top, well, you got Devontae on the other side that can go at their other corner. They also were rotating Darius Williams over on A.J. Brown's side, traveling with him a lot. I don't know if that's going to continue in this game because it did not work out very well for the Rams in that game, but if they want to try and say, oh, this is our best corner, he's going to travel with AJ, well, we can line Devontae Smith on the other side. And kind of like you saw in the Cowboys game when they had, who's the Cowboys corner? Deron Bland going with AJ, and then they were just going at Andrew Booth Jr.
Yeah,
that's why you want a second, a second receiver like Devontae Smith to pair with a number one, so that if they do try and bracket and take away your best guy, you got another guy you can go at. So I think it helps keep the defense honest and say, oh, we can't sit here and just dictate all of our coverage to A.J. Brown. They definitely could, but you got a guy like Devontae Smith that can hurt you. Dallas Goedert can hurt you as well. So having Smitty back is for sure going to help the passing attack. And they had a good game passing wise in the last game. They didn't throw it a ton, but they were efficient when they threw it. AJ Brown was breaking tackles left and right. They were able to move the ball. I think he had over 100 yards on like 6 catches in that game, even without Devontae.
Yeah, I was telling some people too. They won't be able to probably stack the boxes as much as they did. Well, like you said, let me not say they can't. They probably won't want to stack the box as much as they did because they did a lot of like one high in that game. Like they were like, look, it's AJ and Saquon. We're gonna try to stop both of them. I don't think that option is there when you add Smitty into the bunch. If you do say we're gonna stop two, I think yeah, you're right. Say Smitty can take over a game himself. He can go for 150, 200 if you don't want to play honest.
Yeah.
So obviously I gave the stat with the 255 and they haven't rushed for 100 in the playoffs. Do you see them having that type of success though, where we are able to at least go for 100 yards?
I don't see that happening because number one, Saquon's going to get the ball 25 times, so he's going to get at least 4 yards a carry. I highly doubt that this team, who has been, let me read these stats out to you, 26 in yards per attempt against the run. According to Next Gen Stats, yards before contact per attempt, 21st. Yards after contact per attempt, 26th. 28th in stuff rate, right? So it's one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. They've been playing a little bit better since. But also, if you look at the teams that they played, they weren't the greatest running teams in general. They played the 49ers without CMC. They played the Saints and with backup quarterbacks. You look at some of the games that they played, wasn't the best teams that they faced. So I don't think that they're going to come in here and keep them under 100. The Eagles' run game is just too diverse. You add in what Jalen can do to help out the run game as well. I don't think they're going to slow him down like that. Now, does he go for 255? Probably not. That took 2 70-yard runs. The odds that happen again are very low. But I just don't see them being able to slow this run game down and hold them under 100 rushing yards.
If they were to hold us under 100, I would be shocked. But to me, that says Jalen Hurts probably has 250, 260, somewhere up in there in passing yards, and probably another 60 or, something like that rushing. Because I don't know, the discourse with Jalen Hurts is really kind of aggravating. How they, just whatever they want to say about what he does and what he doesn't do it's kind of aggravating. It's kind of a dead point. But the one thing they can't ever say is he wins game. He don't win games. What is he? Since Steichen left, somebody said Steichen got the better end of the deal. So I said Steichen 17-17 since he left. Jalen Hurts is 26-10. Who got the better end of the deal?
And Steichen is kind of on the hot seat with the Colts. You look at the culture in their locker room. There's turmoil in that locker room. You got guys tapping out in the middle of games. It's like, the Rams are gonna pass the ball for 400 yards. What a pointless comment. Anyway,
Darlene is a Cowboy fan. She's been a part of my my fan base for about 2 years. She comes in and says wild stuff all the time.
Oh, well, then go bet on it. Go bet on it. You'll get great
And then
odds.
she came here last night and asked me would I buy her a jersey because her jersey got ripped at the Eagles game. What? I'm not gonna buy you a Cowboys jersey. Thank you for the like, comment, subscribe.
helps with the algorithm.
Yeah.
But but here's the thing: if they're able to slow down Saquon, it's probably because they dedicated so much to slowing down Saquon that you're going to open up one-on-ones for AJ and Devontae on the outside, and that's what Jalen is best against single high coverage, right? So that's when you can get those one-on-ones to those guys, and that's when Jalen gets the ball out of his hands quicker and they can move the ball. Now, in terms of the Rams playing much better than they have before. I mean, they put up 12 points. Here's the thing: they've put up they had one good game, 40 points against the Bills, right? Since they played the Eagles. They put up 20 points twice since then. The Rams game, they put up the Vikings game, they had a defensive touchdown. They gave up 20 points. I think they had 21 points against the Saints of all teams. They had 12 points against the Rams. The Cardinals, they couldn't even, if they got to 20, I don't even think they got to 20 against the Cardinals. The most points that they scored, other than that Bills game, was with their backup quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, against the Seahawks and a bunch of backup players, So it's not like this Rams team is playing super great overall. You even look at Stafford's numbers since he's had Puka Nacua back, looking at week 8 through week 17. It's not like his numbers are through the roof. They haven't been some killer offense. And all of a sudden they're just going to come and light the Eagles past D up when no one has done it all year. I mean, I highly doubt this going to happen. On the road, too, in the cold, Fangio's had Sean McVay's number his entire career. I mean, the odds are pretty long on that. There's a reason the Birds are 6-point favorites right now.
Fangio, yeah, I've seen some numbers, man. I think he only beat in the playoffs. What it was, he never beat him in the playoffs, and he's only beat him like what 1 or 2 times in the regular season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, if that,
I've seen somebody post it. I can't remember the stat, but I know he's never beat him in the playoffs. Though.
The whole Fangio scene got super popularized because of him having McVay's number in 2018, right? That got him a head coaching job pretty much. And then you look what they did against that Rams team with Puka and Kupp on the field, still didn't matter, And then you see that this Eagles team is getting to face this team again. You saw the improvements that they made from the first time they played the Packers to the second time they played the Packers. Some of the adjustments, like I showed in my video, the defensive video that we talked about, some of the the coverage beaters that the Ravens ran that had success or should have had success against the Eagles the first time they played. The Packers come out, try and run the same exact concepts. It's blanketed. The Packers come out and try and run a concept to target the Eagles defense, where the Commanders came out and scored their game-winning touchdown. They had an adjustment ready for that. You give this young Eagles defense more time to gel together. You put these young guys get another crack to see the same team. I don't see the Rams coming out and passing for 400 yards. But at a certain point in time, it's, people are trying to convince themselves of what's going to happen. They're wishing and praying and hoping for something, and then reality smacks them in the face. So,
yeah, that's the funny part to me. Is like I seen that we had the most views in wildcard weekend history, right? And I'm like, yeah, most of those people were hate watching. They were hoping that we lost.
It's the Floyd Mayweather, Jake Paul effect. People don't tune in because they want to see you win. They want to see you lose. They hope for it. Because they have nothing else to root for. They have to root for someone else's downfall. People root for two things in sports. They root for their own team, and they root for other people to lose. They never care if any other team wins. They just care that one team loses because they have nothing else to root for. So they hope someone else is unhappy. But that gets us more views, more hate, more fuel to the fire. It is what it is. But at the end of the day,
people like Darlene that spams the chat. You get Darlene's that spam the chat for an hour of boredom. But we get it. Darlene, you're a Cowboy fan. I expect you to come in with all the hate and animosity that I lose, because misery loves company. It happens. It's just like that. But right now, we discussing playoff football. And we got an opportunity to move on. And I don't. You said our team is overlooked. I don't think our team is overlooked. I think the fan base may be a little bit excited because of how we beat them the first time, 37-20, and they felt like a lot of people were saying 37-13. It really felt like the last score was just like, we let you have it because we were just trying to get out of the game. So it's like, why wouldn't you be excited to see your team play a team that you blew out? Like, nobody goes in that game and be like, oh, they're gonna blow us out now. No, it's like, we're a little bit confident. I hope the team is as focused as they've been all season. I don't think playing them is going to change the focus. I don't think so.
Yeah, no, there are some things that are different from the first time they played each other. The Rams had right tackle Warren McClendon in, who was a sieve. He just gives up pressure to anybody. Now they have Rob Havenstein back in the mix. He's a much better tackle. They should get Rams should theoretically have better pass protection in the game at that point in time. But you know what actually has come down to earth a little bit is the Rams pass rush. The Rams pass rush through, leading up into the first game, they were where was it at? Here we go. They were first in the NFL according to Next Gen Stats and pressure rate coming into the Week 12 game. Since they had a 41.7% pass rush, pressure rate. From weeks 12 through 17, they rested starters in week 18. They averaged a 26.6% pressure rate, right? So a huge drop in their pressure rate. Now they had a 52% pressure rate against the Vikings in the wild card round. They're also facing a Vikings offensive line that has been injured all year and is 30th in pressure rate allowed. Now they're facing a team with 2 All-Pros on the offensive line. Cam Durham.
They also kind of went against their game plan against the Vikings too, right? Didn't they turn up their blitz rate against the Vikings? That was their highest blitz rate of the season, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was the highest of the season, but I mean, here's the thing: if you cannot anchor against their power, they're gonna destroy you. And the Vikings don't have guys that can anchor at tackle. That's something that they struggle with. Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata can absolutely do that. You saw that play with Jared Verse had one pressure in the first game they played where he ran over Mailata. He was damn near offsides. He got a great jump, and so he was able to get Mailata when he was coming out of his stance. But other than that, he was getting handled all game.
And Mailata, wasn't he fresh back? Wasn't his first game
pressure
back?
of the season in that game, 3.85 seconds. So the thing is, if that front can't get pressure, their coverage on the back end is not good. It is one of the worst in the NFL. So, and their tackling on the back end is not good altogether, so.
We are not dead last in stopping the pass, Darlene. Please stop it. I don't know where you got your stats from, but
I know, they're literally first in the NFL and stopping it.
What? Like what? You're dead last in stopping the pass, huh?
I think you got that chart upside down. But I guess I expect that from a Cowboys fan. They got to turn it upside down so their team looks at the ranks at the top.
Got it. I now I got what you're saying, bro. I peeped it. Yeah. But yeah. So did you? I mean, looking at those numbers about the pass rush rate, is it just teams pretty much just figuring it out, or is it?
Well, they played some better offensive lines down the stretch, and then also when you look at some other guys, their pass rushers, Jared Verse, he's all power, right? So if you can figure out how to different techniques to slow down his power rush, it can help things out. But a lot of their guys, it's not really technique they're winning with. It's a lot of athleticism and power. They use a lot of stunts, a lot of line movement to try and get some unblocked pressures to try and confuse your offensive line. So the more film that you have, more reps you have on film, you can prepare for their go-to stunts and their go-to pressures out of certain formations. So I think that was a big factor to their pass rush slowing down a little bit down the stretch.
What else? Was that Jordan Mailata's first game back from injury?
Oh, I don't remember. I think it was. Was it?
I want to say that was his first game back.
Or was it the Commander? Or was it the Commander? I think the Commander's week 11 was that first game back.
So the week before that.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't for sure too, but I thought it was either the Rams or the Commanders. But yeah, it was the Commanders. You're right. Because we was all a little excited that he was coming back.
Yeah, he didn't practice all week.
Yeah. So is there any concern offensively for us that you have going into this game that could rear its ugly head? Our offense.
Yeah, so the thing that I'm interested to see is they started using a lot more double mug pressures, as the season went on. They didn't run a single against the Eagles on any pass plays in that game. Go back and look at the Cowboys game. Go back and look at some of the games earlier in the season where they get up and put a lot of guys on the line of scrimmage. That's when you start to see Jalen Hurts drop his eyes a little bit, start to panic a little bit. He started figuring it out in the second half of that Cowboys game. really around the 2-minute warning. So things like that, I think, could give them a little trouble. The fact that they run more zone coverage, fifth highest zone rate of zone coverage in the NFL. Jalen's significantly better against man coverage than zone coverage. It's like he averages like 9.6 yards per attempt against zone and 7.3 yards per attempt. Excuse me, 9.6 yards per attempt against man coverage, first in the NFL. 7.3 yards per attempt against zone coverage. That's 17th in the NFL. He starts to hold the ball longer against zone. And then what the Rams do is they like to create chaos in terms of the pressure packages that they use, but they're also really good at disguising their coverages. First highest disguise rate in the NFL. The Eagles are second. So when you get some of that stuff going on, you force him to have to hold on to the ball a little bit, read things out. That's when he starts to panic to a degree. But the second time playing this team around, you'd hope that he'd be a little bit more comfortable with some of the stuff that he's seeing. But even still, he came out and had a very efficient game. The first time that they played, he only had like 22 attempts or something like that. So did he put up huge numbers? No, but he had a good yards per attempt average. They were moving the ball without Devontae Smith on the field. Dallas Goedert, that was his second game back, but even he played a much lower snap share than most of the other games. I think he had rolled his ankle on a play or something like that, But if the biggest concern is do they come out in a bunch of double mug pressures and Jalen starts dropping his eyes? Does he get confused by their disguise? That'll probably be the biggest concern. And then you add in it's supposed to be cold and snowing. How does that affect the whole pass game at that point in time?
So with the double mug pressure, that would put them in man, right?
No. They can run a bunch of different coverages.
So they run it. Are they running more zone behind it than man?
Yeah, typically, but they can run. They typically run. Well, I shouldn't say typically. They mix it up. Sometimes it'll be man. Sometimes it'll be zone. A lot of times it'll be more often be zone. But what you can do is get the ball to the perimeter a little quicker in those situations, especially when you got linemen. A lot of times it'll be a lineman, Byron Young or Michael Hoyt, who's like 300 pounds, will be trying to get from the B gap all the way out to cover the flat. And it's like these guys aren't used to covering in that space. They end up biting up on the flat and giving up passes over their heads. So it's like they live on chaos, but that also leads to blown coverages or situations where you got guys out of position or guys that aren't the greatest coverage guys in certain positions that don't fit their strength. They're just trying to overcome the fact that they don't have the greatest guys on the back end, and they're trying to win with disguise, with chaos, confusing quarterbacks, confusing offensive lines, trying to generate pressures that way.
So obviously we talked about kind of like the defense, but people want to see, the rematch of Cooper versus Cooper. Do you think it? I mean, obviously he's went up against somebody I think is even more crafty than Cooper Kupp and Adam Thielen. I'm sure he's learned some things to bring back to this matchup. How do you think that matchup goes this time?
Well, he did pretty good against Cooper Kupp the first time. He had a big third down stop where he blanketed Kupp on in man coverage. Kupp hasn't been the same player that he's been in the past. I think injuries have really taken its toll on him. He's a little bit older now. He had the torn ACL earlier in his career. He came back from that. It looks like he reworked his running form and came out faster, but he's dealt with numerous injuries since then. I think that all of that has taken its toll, and he's not the same explosive player that he had been, which is why Puka Nacua has taken the reins, and he leads the NFL in yards, targets per route run by a large margin in the NFL, right? So I think for Coop, I think it's a matchup that I think he can still excel in, but I do wonder how much more are they going to try and get Puka on Cooper. DeJean instead of Kupp on DeJean. We'll see how that works out because you really have to take away Puka Nacua. If you can't take away Puka Nacua or slow him down, it's kind of hard to slow down this passing attack. It's all funneled through him. Everyone else is just playing second or third fiddle at this point in time. So we'll see how that plays out. But I think he'll be all right. More concerned with slowing down Puka Nacua.
Who? So you think? Do you think it'll be Slay more or Quinion more that they try to get in the action with Puka?
I think they're going to go at both. I think the thing with the Rams is they don't just come out and sit there and one, you know, a static look. They motion the most in the NFL. Puka Nakua has the most targets while in motion.
Keep
And then
going, Nick. Somebody at my door. Hold on. Keep going.
okay. And he played 11. He only played 11 games this season and still led the NFL in targets while in motion. Right, so they don't just put him in one position. They don't just line him out wide on one side. They'll line him on both sides. They'll line him tight to the line of scrimmage, almost like he's an H-back or a tight end, and then leak him out to the flat underneath. They do a bunch of different things with Puka that I think it's going to be hard to. I don't think that they're just going to come out and target one guy, because if that were to happen, that just makes it easier for Fangio to dedicate coverage to one specific area. And Sean McVay is making sure that he moves Puka around enough that you can't sit there and double him or rotate coverage to him. Ideally, you'd like to rotate and bracket Puka in some way. I just don't. It's hard to do when you look at them on film and how much they move these guys around. But I think they'll try and go after both. I think they're going to try and hit these guys on double moves. I do think they're going to try and attack Quinion down the field, knowing that he has had some plays where he does panic a little bit on when he has to go and find the ball with his back turned. So, and I think underneath particularly, they'd rather go at Slay on some of those plays where you leak Puka into the flat and then you have to come up and tackle him. I don't remember the stat off the top of my head, but I think he had the 5th most missed tackles forced by receivers in the NFL this year. And again, he only played 11 games, so he's forcing a lot of missed tackles. I'd rather, if I were to design it up as a coach, I'd probably try and attack Quinion down the field with Puka, and then try and make Slay tackle Puka underneath and in the flat.
I've been kind of impressed with Quinion tackling ability too. I seen him come up and make a few good tackles, and I was like, okay. I kind of agree with you. I would take my chances on that little, even if it ain't really a double move, just the potential fake in the fly route. Just hit him with a little where it looks like you're gonna turn your body. And yeah, I would definitely make Slay tackle because he makes business decisions on multiple occasions. He tried to play that matador, like it looks like he's gonna hit you, and then he kind of gets out of the way and grabs the legs as you go by. He kind of trips you up. That ain't gonna work with Puka. That's that guy's physical. That guy's gonna run hard. Ain't no matador defense. You either get him down or you don't. Yeah. If you don't, I hope there's somebody else there to clean it up, because I ain't gonna say he gonna burn you down the sideline and go for 80. He will go for a quick 30. If you don't get him down quick, he will make a couple moves and get up the sideline quickly.
Yeah, he's not a guy that's just gonna run right by you like a Tyreek Hill is, right? But neither is AJ. What they win with is body positioning, holding their line, not getting squeezed to the sideline, tracking, insane catchability, catch through contact, catch through traffic, all that stuff. So he is, he's a top 10 receiver in this NFL. In the NFL, the system he plays in accentuates his strengths and minimizes his weaknesses. And now he looks like a top 5 receiver in the NFL, arguably when you put him in the right system. So right. Yeah. So it's
one question before we get into the score prediction to get up out of here. I got one question. There's a potential of a guy that could play this week. I know you know his name. Are you excited if he gets on the field?
To get who?
If Emmanuel Forbes gets subbed in, are you excited to see?
I don't know why they do that to him, man. That's bad for the guy's mental health.
Well, I heard Witherspoon's dealing with a bad injury, so you never know.
Yeah, that's true. And I feel like they'll probably put Kobe Durant out there. He played, and they were rotating in the first game, Witherspoon and Durant, the first time they matched up. But I guess it could be Forbes. I mean, we'll be licking our chops if it is Forbes out there. You're just running right at that guy. And AJ matched up with him, although they're probably gonna travel Darius Williams with him if that is the case. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to see. Yeah. I like to see Forbes out there.
Bro, I said, you remember how like the movie Rudy, when everybody Rudy, bruh. I was like, the Philadelphia Eagles. We don't like him that much, but if they seen him jogging on the field, the stadium would go berserk. You know what's coming next.
Yeah. Yeah, but the NFLPA, they can't let that happen to a player. You got to think about their safety, not just their physical, but their mental health. You can't be putting Emmanuel Forbes on AJ like that again. That's not good for the guy's career.
Give me your score prediction, man. What you got for me this week? What you think the score gonna be?
Oh man, I didn't even think about a score prediction. I do think it's looking like it could be anywhere from 2 to 6 inches of snow. So that is a good amount where you do start to see things slow down a bit in terms of being able to pass the ball. So I think because of that, you're going to get both teams trying to run it a little bit less efficient in the pass game as a result. I would say I'm going to go with the Eagles almost put up 30 last week and they didn't even play a good game though, so because of the weather conditions, I think it turns into a game where you're running the ball a lot. The clock's running a little bit more. I think we're going to be a game where it's a little bit lower scoring. Rams have barely put up 20 points this season, especially even after playing the Eagles. They had that one big game against the Bills, whose defense is especially their run D. So I think the most I'm going to give the Rams is 17 points. I'll probably give probably make it 24 for the Eagles, 24-17.
I got it like 24-10. When I first made my prediction, I had it like 30-17. But then snow conditions and things of that nature, I took it down. So I'm like somewhere like 24-10. You know what I mean? 3 touchdowns, a field goal. Jake Elliott, maybe get out there and make a little. Because people told me on Sunday they're like, oh he broke it. He's back. I'm like, he's been pretty good from 30, 49 and forward all year. And they're like, no, he's good. I'm like, listen, until he hit a 50 and I see clearance and confidence in his face, I'm gonna just wait. Let's not put him in that position to make a 50. Keep him in his comfort.
You'll probably see less field goal attempts in the game. It's because of when snow happens, whether it's light snow or heavy snow, field goal attempts go way down, makes go way down. So I think there will probably be less field goals. So I had it at one field goal apiece for each team. You get it under the 30, you should be able to kick a field goal. But I imagine you're going to start seeing some, more fourth down attempts, being a little bit more aggressive in situations when you get to that mid range where maybe you want to kick a field goal, maybe you want to go for a fourth down. You're probably going to lean more for being aggressive in this situation.
Hey man, we got 96 people in here, man. If you haven't yet, in the description we have Nick Waters X and his YouTube. He's dropped a couple videos this week on the preview of the game for the upcoming week. He gave you some of the review of the previous game that we just had. Tap in, like, comment, subscribe, ding the bell so you don't miss none of the content he got coming. Hopefully, we said it 2 weeks ago that we get to do 4 of these. 2 more, man, and we could definitely be sitting here celebrating together. But we got to get through one game at a time. Any last words for the people, Nick, before we get up out of here?
Yeah, I have my preview videos are gonna start are gonna start coming out. I got one coming out tonight. I'll have another one tomorrow, and then I'll have one more on Sunday. So make sure to stay tuned to that. Schematic preview today, skill preview tomorrow, trench preview on Sunday. So stay tuned to that. I was a day late because I usually work ahead when I'm preparing for these guys and didn't find out till Monday who we were playing. So it puts me behind on the film review and all that. But
so you'll be up to date this time, right? Because you'll find out basically on Saturday who to start kind of looking at. You won't know if we made it until Sunday, but you'll know the opponent on Saturday. You'll be ahead this time.
Well, will we? Who's playing?
Yeah, because Detroit Commanders played Saturday night.
Oh, do they? I'm so when I'm prepping for these games, I'm so locked in and zeroed in and like watching film and getting ready for the next game. Like the rest of the world doesn't matter, so I like forget everything else that's going on. But yeah, that'll
They
definitely
play
be a boost. One thing, the Rams playing on Monday night though. I don't know why the NFL does this. It's a competitive advantage to everyone else that doesn't play on Monday night. So I don't know why the NFL schedules like that. But I don't care. I'm not worried about it. But it is interesting that they're not letting these guys have equal rest and preparation time.
Hey man, we appreciate y'all for tapping in with us. Same time next Friday we'll be back. Hopefully it's another celebration and it's not a goodbye. Talking about off season, but I think man, this game it's in our favor. We're the better team. The conditions of weather fits better than what we want to do anyways. Power run game with Saquon, power run game with Jalen, and get some of the quick passing game going. I think we should win this game. But hey man, y'all make sure y'all tap in with bro, because I'm finna go watch me some videos right now. See what he been talking about, because I think the last video you dropped yesterday. You dropped one yesterday, right?
Last one was on Wednesday. What's today?
Wednesday.
Today's
Friday. Yeah. So I think I watched that one. Then I thought I seen another one. Didn't you have one with maybe like, I don't know. I'll find out. If I didn't, I'll comment and be like, this is the one I didn't see. But hey, man, y'all tap in with bro.
You're recording all the time, man. It all gets jumbled up. Every time I see you, you're recording, Hardest working man in the game.
I'm trying to be, man. I'm trying to be so the people understand. Hey, man, if y'all haven't, on my X, I just dropped a new hype video, man. I've been working on those. I'm trying to get better. So y'all tap in with us. Tap in with the content. We'll be back next week, 5 o'clock Friday. Peace.
Yo, Philly fam, back.